Video games are a powerhouse of entertainment. There's so many genres to suit your preference, and because they have so much to offer us, we tend to be motivated to play them for longer and longer periods of time. It's possible to step over the line and game a little bit too much. The thing you might not know is that overplaying actually gets in the way of getting good and actually having fun. Welcome to the Intelligent Gaming Guide. This guide will be all about how to get the absolute best out of your gaming experience without overplaying so that you can get as good as you can, as fast as you can, and have as much fun as you can with your favorite game. In this two-part series, I'm pleased to be working with Andrew Kinch, the founder of GameAware. Andrew is both an advocate for gamers of all ages, as well as for parents of gamers who are concerned about their kids and don't understand enough about video games. For gamers, being game-aware means that you're gaming intelligently. You understand why you love games and why it's about quality, not quantity, in order to get the best experience that you can. I'm really pleased to be working with him on this project, and you can find a link to his website down below. There you're going to find a written version of this Intelligent Gaming Guide, and lots of other cool stuff that will help your game with more awareness. Today's guide is part 1. It's called Gaming with Purpose. This part is essentially why you actually want to game intelligently. Part 2, which we'll do later on, is going to be about how you go about doing these things. To really know why you enjoy games, you have to discover what motivates you to play them. There's 3 psychological needs that we all try to fulfill in life so that we can feel happy and satisfied. We can meet these needs through hobbies or work, relationships, things like that. And while gaming does hit all these 3 needs, it doesn't do a good enough job of meeting them. It only hits them. It's only a small part of the puzzle. These psychological needs are mastery, autonomy, and social connection. So what do these 3 things mean? Well, mastery is that sense of getting good at something and achieving goals. Think of the feeling that you get when you think of words like competing, unlocking, developing, improving, things like that. That all falls under the umbrella of mastery. Second, we have autonomy. That is the sense of being in control of your choices at all times. Think of games like The Last of Us, where the story can change pretty dramatically based upon your choices, or Skyrim, where you can go anywhere, explore anywhere, do whatever you want at any point in time. Third, we have the idea of social connections. This can be characterized by the social connection we feel with other gamers in the community, whether it's with your real-life friends or people you've met online playing the same games that you love, things like that. It also includes competition in multiplayer games. Basically, anything that you do where you interact with another human being will inherently feel good and is something that you by nature will more likely than not want to pursue. While these are the big 3 overarching buckets that most things fit into, every individual gamer, whether your purpose is to compete or to have fun or something in between, you're going to have a few ideas, a few goals that you have on a subconscious level that you're trying to satisfy, and if you really reflect and look back on yourself, you can identify what those are. For me, I've come up with 3 quick examples, and I would love if you would try to do the same personally. You don't have to share if you don't want to, but just something that you can think about introspectively. It can help you identify what kind of a gamer you are and how you can better spend your time. So I have come up with competition, self-improvement, and understanding. I want to compete in my games first and foremost. I don't want to be the best player on the server necessarily, but I want to play games that force me to really think and work hard to win and improve. Rainbow Six Siege and Heroes of the Storm are some personal favorites of mine that really scratch that competitive itch. I'm perfectly happy with never being able to actually approach the skill level of the best player in either of those games, but I do like the fact that no matter what skill level I'm at, I'm able to play against people of my skill level, and I can learn and get better and improve, and I just get that positive feedback from it. It feels really, really good. Second, we have self-improvement. This goes hand in hand with that first point. I want to be able to watch myself improve over time. I want to play Overwatch and see my SR increase from season to season. I want to play Rainbow Six Siege and go from bronze to gold to diamond. I want to see that sort of advancement. Third, we have understanding. I want to break apart the machine that is the game that I'm playing and figure out how the pieces go together and what they do. By learning this, I can then use it to maximize my effectiveness in-game, which is a direct method of improving myself, which by nature is a direct way of becoming better at competing. You can see how these things all come together. I'm looking for that positive feedback loop, but this approach is certainly not for everyone. As we covered before, everyone plays games for different reasons. It's up to you to identify what's important to you and capitalize on these things. So why do you play the games that you play? What's your main motivator? What are you getting out of it? Whatever you come up with, it'll fall into one of those three broad categories. No matter which of those motivators you personally favor, you have to be wary of the risk of playing too much in an effort to reap the positive feelings that games can provide. I would argue that if you're playing a game too much, you're going to end up performing worse and you're going to enjoy it less. We seem to think that to be really good at a game, you need hours and hours sitting in that chair. We're here to tell you that it doesn't work that way. Do you want to get better at your favorite game? You need to manage your gameplay so that you can learn faster while keeping it fun. You need to organize your practice. So how much is too much? People who don't understand games may have trouble understanding what too much actually is. From a gamer's perspective, playing too much is when you start to have less fun, your performance goes down, or you start to feel stress in other parts of your life because you're too busy gaming to deal with it. With the right planning, you can play under 15 hours a week, and that is the ideal amount you should play if your goal is to get better at your games. The other important thing is that you're not playing your game every single day. You need to take some breaks. They will actually help. If you end up spending more than 15 hours a week playing your games, you might need to take a look at why you're gaming. Is it because it's fun, or is it because it's a distraction from whatever else is going on in your life? This segues us nicely into the idea of quality over quantity. I'm sure you've heard this many times throughout your life. If you game too little, you may not develop the skills that you want, making it hard to have fun. Well, that is, if your metric for fun is your performance. But for the sake of this argument, let's just say that it is. If you game too much, you're going to take longer than you need to gain that skill, and you won't have as much fun. You're going to get salty, and you're going to get bored. You're going to chase that enjoyment, but you're rarely ever going to catch up to it if you're playing that way. That's just how the brain works when you're repeating tasks too many times. So what is the best possible gaming experience you can have? How do you get to that state? This is where we talk about flow states. A flow state, which is also known as being in the zone, is a state of mind in which a person is performing an activity and they're fully immersed in a feeling of energy and focus and enjoyment. The thing about flow states is that if you're in one, you become capable of crazy stuff. Things that you might write off as a fluke aren't flukes anymore. You get out of your own way and you enter God tier, even if it's just for a few moments. These are the moments that keep us coming back. So how do you get into one of these flow states? How do you chase them? Well, you kinda can't. The thing is, it's just not something that you can force. You can't plan to be awesome. What you can do, though, is you can set up the right conditions with intelligent gaming to let it happen naturally more often. While we're not able to enter a flow state on command whenever we want, we are able to control a few parameters that might make us more likely to find one. First, you need to feel challenged, but not beyond your own skill level. You want that perfect balance of skill and difficulty so you aren't bored by how easy it is, but at the same time, you're not completely confused or disengaged either. You're also going to need to have a relatively fresh head. High levels of concentration cannot be kept up for hours and hours, so if you play too much, you get further away from being in the zone, not closer. This is a big part of what we mean by quality over quantity. You can't chase flow states, you just can't. If you try, you're going to get yourself further from your goals, so try not to do it. Try to just set yourself up for success as best as you can without chasing that success directly. You need to just create a positive environment for yourself. That's where you're going to really, really naturally find that success more often than not. By chasing flow states too much, you severely risk overplaying, which is exactly what to avoid when gaming intelligently. Now, we have gone ahead and boiled it down into 4 major topics for you. Now, this is of course not going to be all-encompassing. It's not going to answer every question you may have, or it's not going to be every single thing you want to avoid, but this is a great starting point. First, we have staying up late, then gaming alone, frustration, and then having the fantasy of becoming a pro, which is a little bit more of a loosey-goosey topic, but let's go one at a time. First, staying up late. If you stay up late enough that you're not going to get your normal 8 to 9 hours of sleep because of gaming, it goes beyond being tired the next day. Basically, your brain needs sleep to function. Your gameplay needs your brain to perform. Ergo, your gameplay needs sleep to perform. If you don't get a chance to cement your learning by taking some time for your brain to lock it in, you're not going to improve as quickly, and you're going to learn bad habits that are really difficult to get rid of because you're repeating them so often. The real learning often happens when you're not gaming. Remember, we're going to be going into a lot more depth in the next video where we go over how to avoid these things and how to become better at these things. For now, we're just talking about the what. Second, we have gaming alone. Think back to the days of arcades if you're even old enough to remember the days of arcades. Playing a game like Donkey Kong or Pac-Man was a performance in front of people, or often with your friends. When consoles like the NES and the Sega Genesis made their ways into the home, gaming was split screen or you shared a screen, and so it was something that you just did with your friends when they came over. It was a social experience. Nowadays, with the advent of the internet and online gaming, everyone's in their own homes. You're always playing with your friends from a distance. They're never within arm's reach. You're going to miss out on a lot of that connection that you would experience in person. If you can, try to game in the same room as your friends, or try to make some new friends who you can game in the same room with. It really is worth whatever effort it takes you to set up. When we play with our friends in the same room, we just tend to not overplay. We take more breaks, we eat together, maybe go do something else together, like watch a movie or something. We also get to learn from them and ask them to show us how they did that one cool move that they might have nailed you with. There's just social interaction. You get to develop yourself as a human being alongside your gaming. You get to combine the both of them. You get to learn more quickly because you're sharing strategies, sharing ideas. It's just a phenomenal way of becoming both a better gamer and a better person. Third, on the list of things to avoid, we have frustration. If you're getting salty on a regular basis, you just have to start asking yourself if you're gaming to have fun or if it's for a different reason. If it's to have fun, then, well, you're failing, aren't you? When you overplay, you might notice that you get more frustrated with yourself or with the game or with other players in something that they're doing. You start to desensitize yourself and feel less of the rewards that you used to feel, and now it takes more gaming to feel the same reward that a shorter session might have done for you previously. Finally, we have this fantasy, this nearly unachievable goal of becoming a pro gamer. If you're already a pro, you might agree with the fact that while you're doing what you love, it's getting tougher and tougher to enjoy gaming at this level. Your happiness is defined less by the fun factor of the game itself, and more about whether or not you performed well or whether you won the game. There's a lot of pressure when you're at this level, and playing that much just takes its toll on you. It really does. It might be glamorous on the outside, but let's just say that it doesn't guarantee that you're going to be happy. It's easy to find professional athletes saying this exact same thing. They would say stuff like they used to love basketball or whatever sport it is that they're playing, and now there's anxieties about their performance, and if they don't perform well, they really struggle with their personal happiness. It's no different for pro gamers. They don't feel the reward from anything except absolute domination and winning that first prize. While winning first prize is extremely rare for pro gamers, it's just not as glamorous as you might think. It's not all that it looks like it could be. For these people, it's also oftentimes a huge life risk because they're dropping out of high school or college or quitting their job in order to pursue this at greater than full-time, sometimes double full-time. It's pretty impossible to have a plan B if you're playing video games 10 to 18 hours a day, every single day, just to stay competitive with the other people who are also playing 10 to 18 hours a day. At least with pro athletes, they have this built-in limiting factor. They cannot possibly train for that long because there is a concept of getting tired, your muscles start to fail you, and you can't physically do it anymore, so they have that nice limiting factor that we just don't have playing games. It's important for us then, as average gamers, to manage our fatigue ourselves and to mix up our daily lives and to make sure we're not playing too much, hitting that fatigue point, which we can't necessarily feel, but it does exist, it does impede our performance, does impede our growth, and it's something that we can learn to work with and turn into a positive as opposed to just being constantly, silently dragged down by it. As more average gamers, of course, we're not gaming to those extremes, but it's still possible for us to be gaming too much. And if you do it too much, it's going to cost you opportunities in life. Something is going to have to suffer, something is going to break. Maybe it's exercise, maybe it's physical health, maybe it's some work you need to do around the house, maybe it's just socializing with your friends or making friends to begin with. Who knows? The possibilities are endless and they're all very bad unless you are sure to meet out your time appropriately. And if you want to do that, I strongly suggest you check out part 2, in which we're going to help you to learn how to accomplish these things. Anyways, everyone, that's going to do it for part 1. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you've learned something new. Good luck in reaching the zone when you're gaming, and remember, love your games, but love them part-time. Gaming is definitely the icing on the cake, but it's not the cake itself. Again, stay tuned for part 2 so you can learn how to get good in under 15 hours a week, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys.